Hello, everybody. Ella J here for a Wrestling Gal, and today I am joined by the Eternal Enigma, Teagan Thorne. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful today. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I am so excited to have you kind of back, but also kind of for the first time because the last time we saw you on here, you were under a different name, Bailey McRoberts. Now you are Teagan Thorne. There was Teagan Rose in the middle. So you've definitely had a huge transformation. It's been about almost 3 years since the last time I talked with you. So a lot has changed, a lot has stayed the
A
same,
lot.
but we will obviously start with those changes, the biggest being obviously your character change in wrestling, your name. The last time we were talking, you were still kind of finding your footing. You had that like a little bit of a darker persona, but it was actually like kind of really cool with the sunglasses and everything. And now you're kind of spooky, kind of darker theme. I personally like those, so I like it a lot. But what prompted your character change in the first place? What made you go, I need a change?
So whenever we last spoke, I was kind of in the process of having the realization, but for me, I needed to shift and change a little bit because I had hit kind of a stagnant where I was at my home
Yeah.
promotion. And so I was trying to figure out what it was that I was going to do, but I didn't have any of the pieces yet, so I just had something thrown together. But over the last 2 years, I got injured. And when I got injured is when I really got to kind of think and be like, all right, this is when I have my time to figure out what I really want to do. So that was in December 2023. Yeah. So during that period of time, I already knew I needed something to change because it just wasn't something in me was like, this isn't working. I need to figure out what I'm going to do. But that kind of was a blessing and a curse because I got injured, but also a blessing because it gave me that time to actually put aside the time to figure out what it was I wanted to do. And ever since then, I've took it and ran with it, and it's thrived. So,
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, what was the injury? How long were you out for?
so I was out from December 2023 until like May, June of 2024.
Okay.
I It was a freak accident, the littlest thing. My leg got caught on a kick, and the way it got caught, it got grabbed at just the wrong spot. So my knee or like my leg popped out of place and my knee hyperextended. So when it did that, it popped right back in because I curled up, but it tore or it partially tore my patellar tendon ligament in my knee, which is the one on like the inside that keeps your knee from
Hmm.
wobbling. So that I luckily didn't have to have surgery, but it kept me off for a good while because I had to basically relearn how to walk with that leg again and learn how to like maneuver so my knee wouldn't move. Even to this day, it still wiggles a little bit, but it's gotten pretty good for the most part.
Oh my God, thank God it wasn't like a torn ACL or something like that. But like
Mhm.
still like it still sounds pretty serious that you can like still feel it and you're still trying to like not learn how to walk, but like walk like carefully so it doesn't like re-injure it. I'm curious, is there like certain moves you can't do or like you stray away from now because of your knee?
So I stray away from doing any like roundhouse kicks or anything just out of paranoia for me. But
Yes.
for the most part, I'm able to do everything that I did before. I don't do a lot of I don't do a lot of stuff where I'm like landing on my knees or anything just because I don't want to risk it. I don't want to be
Yeah.
that person to land and tear my quads or something and be forced to sit on the mat looking weird. So, um yeah, everything else is pretty much doable. The only thing I really avoid is kicks and stuff.
Yeah, especially roundhouse kicks where you're kind of also hyperextending your leg to
Yes.
connect. So that's understandable. Like, does it feel like weird walking now on it, or is it just kind of, or you've gotten used to it?
So I've gotten used to it. I mean, it's healed up and everything. I did a lot of I started working out a lot because it helped it. As long as I build muscle on my leg, it was going to go back to normal for the most part. So I'm pretty used to it now. It's pretty normal, but I'll have my moments where I'm walking and my knee will kind of lock up or something. And I'm like, hold on,
Yeah, yeah.
let me fix that. And people are like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's my knee. It's fine.
Okay. Well, as long as you're doing good now, obviously we never, do what you got to do to protect your knee
Hmm.
because it's definitely one of the more like involved spots in wrestling your leg to begin with. So you do what you got to do, girl.
Yeah. Knee
Um,
sleeves and knee braces are my best friend now.
I believe it. It's kind of obviously we never wish injury upon anybody, never. But it seems like that time off was also kind of a blessing in disguise because, like you said, it gave you that time to actually like sit down and think about who you want to be and what
Hmm.
you want to do. So tell me more about that time, the process of creating this new character and new persona. Where were you looking to for inspiration? What was that creative process like for you during this time?
Oh, okay. So let me think. So I I kept getting told by my dad because he knew I was struggling trying to figure something out. Um, he told me, he's like, look at stuff outside of wrestling. Look at stuff you like to watch, TV shows you like to watch, movies. Figure something out, like something you're not really seeing anywhere. Um, he's like, you're into the darker stuff, so look at the darker stuff you watch or that you listen to. And I'm like, okay. So it was a lot of me looking at things, being like, could I do something with this? Could I not? I attempted something, some things didn't work out. I had like a rock star attempt I tried to do, which is what I think I was trying to do when we last talked.
Yeah.
But it didn't work for me. I was like, this ain't it. I ended up attempting a weird Japanese, heavily inspired baby metal moment, which was something. Um, it didn't work out, but I was like, okay, I'm on the path. Like I can see this is going somewhere.
Hmm.
And then eventually, oh, what was it? There was something that I watched or that I saw that I was like, okay, okay, that's cool. I think I was watching like a DC movie or something with my dad and it had poison ivy in it. And I was like, okay, maybe I could do something with that. I like flowers because I have flower tattoos all over me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could do something with that maybe. And I kind of just started trying stuff and stuff started sticking. And eventually I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be a hippie girl. That's what I'll do. And I realized that a lot of people really took to it because flower girls, everything. I fully embraced it. Um, it took some time to get there though, for sure. It took a good long while. While I was injured, I really got to sit and think and be like, all right, so what am I going to wear? What am I doing with music? What am I doing with character? I literally had a notebook. I don't know where it is now, but I had a notebook. I was writing all my ideas and everything in it. I have Google Docs on my computer that I was typing in. I was
You were serious.
I was locked in trying to figure out. I'm like, I am making this stick. I'm tired of switching. Um, but yeah, that was a fun process. It really gave me the chance to figure out exactly everything I wanted out of me and my character that I bring.
So, in your current state as Teagan Thorne, for those who are maybe unaware, how would you describe her as a character? What are her vibes?
So her vibes are, I would say, a mix of Poison Ivy and Bride of Frankenstein. Um, with a little bit of a hint of, I'd say, Tatum Paxley, just because some of
Yeah.
the stuff yeah, the kind of gothic, the more like, oh, she's kind of weird, but we're cool with that. That's the vibe I would say mixed all together.
Yeah, I will say because I was listening to your new theme song and it was
Hmm.
giving me like Wednesday Addams a little bit kind of like that Tatum Paxley vibe and I so love it too. It's also a bop
Thank
by
you.
the way. It's
Thank you.
creepy but like it's also a bop at the same time. And so I really love that. So you seem to be one who's drawn to like I mean, I guess multiple things, kind of like horror, kind of scary films, but also like actiony stuff. Would you say that's kind of like your typical you lean towards for films and stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially with now where I'm kind of more embracing the spooky girl, the kind of supernatural aspects of it.
Yeah.
Definitely horror, classic horror stuff, some action, sci-fi. That's definitely the vibe that I go for.
Yeah, it's mixing in a lot of elements to it. And I know obviously like it probably wasn't easy, going through the process and like going through multiple personas, but I feel like that's also the beauty of independent wrestling. You have that creative freedom to experiment, and if something doesn't work, like you said, you can draft up a whole range of other ideas until something sticks. And this seems to have stuck for you. Seems like you're having a lot of fun with it too. You mentioned horror action movies. What would you say, just in general, are your top like 3 to 5 films of all time?
Oh, oh my gosh, that's hard. Okay. So I would say I'm gonna say my top three because if I try and do five, I will be here all
Sure.
day. um, top three. My third would probably be Final Destination 2. I love Final Destination 2. Number two would probably be mm, these are probably mostly going to be horror because that's my very main shtick. But three would be Final Destination 2. Number two would probably be oh, hmm. Two would be Chucky, Child's Play. I love
Good
Child's
one.
Play. And my number one would be Scream. I love
Oh,
Scream.
that's
I
a good
love
one
Scream.
too. That's a great series.
Yes.
I just saw, I don't know if you saw it. This is like a month or two ago. I just saw Final Destination Bloodlines. Um, Ironically, that was the first, I had never seen any of the Final Destination like series before that. I know, I'm like late. I'm so late to the ball, but I really enjoyed Bloodlines. So now I want to go back and watch like the first few.
Oh
I feel
yeah.
like I have to.
The first two or three the first two are so good. I love them so much. But I haven't seen the new one yet. My parents did, and I was at the theater at the same time, so I got to see the ending of it, which I called on the spot because I've seen them.
Yeah.
But I heard it was good. I just need to watch it. I haven't gotten to it yet.
I guess the ending was a callback. That's what I had heard anyway.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, good to know for the future. I'm definitely looking forward to going back and watching those because I also like thriller, but like also horror. I lean more thriller, I feel like, but I love like horror and like stuff like
Mhm.
that too, and like all these weird things going on. It was very entertaining. So I'm definitely gonna have to go back and watch the first couple. Um, I'm curious too. This is kind of a small thing, but in adjusting yourself and your persona, you had a small name change too. You were Tegan Rose, then you were Teagan Thorne. What was the purpose behind the this little tweak in the name? I'm curious.
So I in February I got uh reached out to and started getting the opportunity to go to OVW.
W and
And I was down there and I came in, I think two or three times, and they kept wanting to bring me in, but they talked to me. They kind of pulled me aside. They're like, "Hey," which I knew it was coming because
Sophia Rose.
their girl that was coming
Yeah.
up, that was gonna be champ, Sophia Rose, love
Uh,
her, but she was there. She was a regular, so I was like, eventually, I'm gonna have to change my name because I know this is gonna happen. So I had it locked in my mind, already prepared, and they came up and they're like, "Hey, we want to keep using you. We need your name to be a little different." And I said, "That's okay. I'll be Teagan Thorne from now on." And they were like, "That's perfect. That's what Al Snow said." And I'm like, "Awesome." So it was a quick little change, but I was prepared. I'm like, eventually it's gonna happen. So
yeah, it still goes with the whole like flower,
oh
and all of
yeah.
that. And like we like the alliteration, TT, that works
Hmm.
too. Now when it comes to ring gear, obviously a lot of it is darker centered, but what would you say are your go-to sources of inspo when you're crafting and envisioning your current ring gear?
So I would say a lot of my inspo currently is it's a mix of Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, and I would say Probably a lot of Tatum's gear. Tatum's gear is very cute. I've started following a lot of her stuff, but I also have a lot of like gear makers that I see on my Instagram and stuff that I
Yeah.
look at. And sometimes I'll be like, that's cool. I'm gonna spin something with that. But yeah, my biggest inspos are definitely Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley and Tatum.
I think we definitely talked about Rhea last time because I was rewatching our previous interview. She's always had that like punk rock vibe too, but also
Hmm.
kind of goth as well. Liv
Yeah.
dips into goth, but she could also be like very like feminine, like denim too, and like bright colors, like a mix of
Hmm.
everything. But she has a lot of the chains and like strappy stuff too. Like hers is
Yeah.
a mix of everything. Tatum's also gone like really bright, but also keeping it like, like not quirky, but like that also that like goth dark persona too, but like mixing in some bright colors every once in a while too as well.
Yeah.
I like those. I mentioned your obviously new entrance theme, Resurrected. It's a bop by JD
Thank you.
Productions. There's a whole music video too as well. Tell me about the process of putting together this entrance video and your vision behind it.
So the music and everything, JD Productions, Jesse, he is a very good friend of mine. I've known him since high school. And he's kind of been with me on my whole journey in wrestling.
Yeah.
He's been taking pictures for me, doing photo shoots with me since about 2021. We did one then. He's done several shows for me that I've brought him into to like take pictures and videos. He's helped me grow a lot on my social medias in terms of content because I know, especially in this day and age, you got to have a lot of content to post or else you're kind of
Yes.
just gonna be like, oh, who's this? And then dip
Hmm.
off the map.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, he's a good friend of mine. He's been with me through the journey. He's been looking at making wrestling music. I was looking to get wrestling music. So I was like, hey, our vibe kind of matches because he's into all the horror, classic horror stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, could you make something for me? And he's like, yeah, no doubt. So we collaborated and got that put together. And then the video, I made it at first, like I started it for fun. I was like, imagine if I had a Titantron somewhere. Haha. But as I started making it, I was like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. I really like this. And once I was done with it, I showed it to a bunch of my wrestling friends and my coworkers, and they were like, hey, that's really good. They're like, did you make that? And I'm like, yeah. And the show that I'm at, my home promotion, as well as other shows I go to that use it, I've just started giving it to them to use because I know a lot of what makes a character is all the other aspects with it.
Yeah.
You have the character, but if you have the Tron, the music, the gear, put together, that's puts the stamp on it. So I've always wanted my own Titantron, so I figured I'd just make my own.
Yeah, it's awesome to see, you like you said before earlier, you were kind of like struggling to find yourself, but it seems like you've gotten a lot of it down and now, the
Hmm.
elements like the gear, who you are, the music, the finer details. So, and in your current state, do you feel satisfied now with who your current character is and everything gone into it?
I I would say I'm very satisfied right now, but I'm also the type of person I evolve very quickly.
Yeah.
So I know eventually there's going to be some adjustment or something, but I'm content with where I'm at. Like I've hit a point, I'm like, all right, I'm at a stride. This is good.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
relax for a bit.
Ride the wave, you can always do more, ride the wave, enjoy the ride, as they say.
Yeah.
um I definitely like it because it also, for me, I don't know about you, spooky season to me begins right after Memorial Day, so like June. That might be early for some people, but I have to imagine that you're looking forward to spooky season as well.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what do your normal like spooky season or like Halloween traditions that you look forward to?
So my normal Halloween traditions, I'm always looking for candy corn. I love candy corn so much. I stock it up. I buy boxes of it to last me like for however long. I love going finding candy corn. I love going to haunted houses. I'm always going to those whenever it's Halloween season. Just about every weekend, if I'm not booked, I'm at a haunted house. I also get heavily into. I go and do marathons of my favorite horror movies and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll start doing marathons and stuff once spooky season happens.
It's Summerween, they're calling it now. I'm having a Summerween party at my house in like 2 weeks, so we're
Love
celebrating it
that.
early. For me, it's never too early to start. Maybe,
No,
maybe a little, maybe like maybe the early months are too early, but for me, honestly, right after Memorial Day, like June 1st,
Halloween
that's
time.
that's my Halloween time. Exactly.
Yes.
See, you get it. You mentioned OVW earlier though before. You made your debut back in February against their then champion, J-Rod. How tell me, take us back to your OVW debut. They obviously it's a bit of a I guess an upgrade in production to a lot of the indies I have to imagine that you've been to. They've gotten a lot of cameras and they've been building their production in recent years. So
Mhm.
tell us more about making your OVW debut back a few months ago.
So when I got reached out to about it, about being booked, I was very much so in a denial. I was like, "There's no way, there's no way," because they're in Louisville. They're not too far from where I am, so
Hmm.
I've known where they were. I've watched their stuff. But I was like, I'm not gonna get on that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Little small town Indiana girl, no way. Um, when I did it, I remember when I got the news I was doing it, I was in my car with one of my friends at the time, and we both were freaking out. We heard the voice message and we were like, oh my God, oh my God. The day of, I was in denial the whole week leading up to it. The day of, I was so anxious. I did not eat like all day except for maybe like a Subway 6-inch sub, I think is what I ate, and some soup. And I was riding down with one of my friends and they were like, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" I'm like, "No, not at all." So it was very, very I was very anxious, very excited, but the anxiety was heavy that day. Once I got there and I got to talk to everybody and I kind of got to talk to J Rod a little bit, I felt better. I went out there. I was so anxious, but it helped a lot because I didn't know a whole crowd of people that my friends, my family had shown up. I didn't know most of them were coming. So I went out there and they were going crazy. The crowd started to pick up a little bit because they were like, "Oh, she's getting cheered. Let's cheer
Yeah.
too." Um, so it was very fun experience. Very fun. The setup is way different than any other show I've been to for sure because you have to worry about the cameras and the angles and the this and this and this and time cues and all that. So it was definitely a learning experience, but it's the learning experience that's definitely made me for the better. Now, like I use a lot of the things that I've picked up and I've learned there, and it's helped me everywhere else I've went.
Yeah, you're now kind of like a semi-regular there. I actually think you'll be making your return. I don't know if it's today at the time of recording this
Yes,
or yeah, today.
today.
Later today. What else have you learned from your experience working with OVW? Like in whether it's in ring wise or confidence wise or anything else? What specifically have you learned from your time there so far?
So I've learned a little bit of all three. I've went to their training classes and stuff that they've had down there. I've shown up to a couple of those. I've learned some things, learned how to be a little more smooth, a little more crisp. The big thing I've learned is definitely the character stuff. Like I had my character, I had what I do, but they
Yeah.
kind of helped me figure out how to make it personal, how to make it more connected to me and my actual story. So that's why it kind of transitioned from not just Flower Girl, but Flower Girl who's kind of living dead girl.
Yeah.
Um, and they've definitely helped me evolve my character and realize how to pick up a crowd. Like if a crowd's kind of just sitting, how to get them like invested again.
Yeah, that's definitely one too that I feel like is a huge opportunity because especially if you're gonna like, work bigger crowds, it also I feel like gives you that confidence to be able to do that and in front of more. I might be more pressure, but I feel like it gets those reps in after a while. It's just like natural, and then you're just going out there and just doing your thing, you know?
Yes, yes. It's more reps. When I first started up there, yeah, the confidence was definitely at a lower point. But when I came up there and I did it and I saw I actually did okay, I was like, oh, okay, so I can do this. This is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
So it's helped me definitely build my confidence a lot too.
Yeah, I feel like OVW, especially in the last, I mean, obviously it has that history as it was a developmental for WWE, but it's kind of become its like own brand again in the last couple of
Mhm.
years, you know, especially with the Netflix special, I believe it was, Wrestlers.
Yes.
So now you're a part of it. Hopefully we get to see you even more and you're maybe a future OVW Women's Champion. That's TBD, but it seems like you're slowly and surely working your way through the women's division, so that's always a good sign. We wish you the best of luck, obviously. The last time we were talking, you would have been what, like 2.5 years, maybe about three into your career, because I think you debuted right like a few months before the pandemic, I think it
Yeah.
was. So you've been in the game for about 5.5 years now. How, in what ways do you think you've grown as a person and as a competitor thus far in those years? You know, especially starting out during a rough year, just finding your stride, baby, and then all of a sudden it's a pause, and then you have to adapt. But you've adapted obviously very well. You now found yourself. How else do you think you've grown as a person and as a competitor?
So I would say hmm, I've definitely grown as a person because when I started, I also was in the middle of high school. I was 16,
Yeah.
17. So I've grown a lot as a person, not just going through that and becoming an adult, but I have grown a lot from highs and lows I have had and really grown into my own in my own independence and confidence and into I'm trying to think of the word. I've grown into my own. I used to kind of feel like I lived in a shadow, just with my family and stuff, especially with being second generation. But
Yeah.
I've really grown into my own person, into my own being, and knowing who I am. Because just as I was struggling to figure out who I was in wrestling, I didn't know who I was in general either. I was really trying to figure that out. So I've figured that out for the most part. I'm very much so a multitasker, a girl with too many plates in her hand, too many tabs in her head. One's frozen, music's playing somewhere, but I manage it all. Um, and in wrestling as well, I would say I've grown. I've grown as a person in wrestling too because I feel like my characters have changed and almost matured as well over time. So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of it definitely comes with age, especially starting out so young. You're what, 22 now?
Yes.
Still so young, but especially trying to find your footing in high school while also trying to navigate high school as a teenager, I have to imagine was definitely an experience to say the least.
Yes.
Um, Final question, you know, the last time we were talking, you mentioned that you kind of chose to pursue wrestling at about 15 or 16. Before that, though, if you think back to little Teagan, what did she envision herself doing for a career when she got older in your younger years?
So I had two careers I remember I really wanted. One was I wanted to be a teacher because I had really good influences and teachers growing up that helped me a lot in life and everything because just my I had a rough time growing up with my parents getting divorced and stuff. So they helped out a lot and I was like I want to be that for somebody. The other one which just stuck with me for a good minute is still something I'm like, man, if I was in another lifetime I would totally do it is like a marine biologist working with like undersea
Mhm.
underwater animals and stuff because I love water and I have a fascination with marine life. But that's my goofy one that I'm like, it's not going to happen, but it's a fun thing to have an interest in.
You can always, still visit the animals, swim with the dolphins too. So you
Yeah.
always have that option, I've always been fascinated by marine life as well, but obviously, both of us have ventured down the wrestling route,
Yes.
which is completely opposite. But there's always got to be a plan B just in case. So maybe that's something you can revisit down the line. I don't know. You still have many years ahead of you. So you do what you want, keep riding your wave, but always have a plan B, as they say. Maybe that's it. Who knows? But we'll see. Before we let you go, though, please let the listeners know where they can find you online and support your content.
So I have my Facebook, which is Teagan Thorne. I have my Twitter, my Instagram, and my TikTok, which are all Thorne underscore Teagan. And then I also have my YouTube channel, which I don't post on all the time, but I'm starting to try and get better about posting regularly on it. So it's also at Teagan Thorne, and that is all the social medias I have. People also can follow me on my Patreon that I have, where I post pictures and stuff of my wrestling adventures. And that's it. That's all the social media stuff I got.
And that's Thorn with an E. I don't know if that
Yes.
comes off backwards, but there we go. It's Thorn with an E. Teagan, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been an absolute pleasure again.
Thank you so much for having me. I had fun.